Good evening. You're watching From the 80s View. I'm your host, Dr. Cedric Brown. Today is one of those days that I just felt like I needed to address my viewers with some of the things that are going on in NCAA athletics. Today's show, we're going to talk about NCAA initial eligibility. A lot of parents that I've come across don't really have a lot of information or a lot of education about that. So we're going to talk about initial eligibility today. We're going to talk about the NCAA House settlement today. There were three major lawsuits that were brought against the NCAA with regards to name, image, and likeness. And the NCAA settled and came up with a major settlement that's going to last probably about 10 years or more for potential student athletes from 2016 to the present. And then last but not least, we're going to talk about the NCAA Division One Council legislation that came through and some different things that are impacting NCAA athletics and the way that the student athletes and institutions can go about doing their business. These topics and more on From the 80s View. Let's get it. Welcome back to the show. Before we get started, as I always do during the beginning of my show, I'd like to give honor to God, who's the head of my life, because without Him, none of the things that I'm able to do in my career as a family man, a father, I would not be able to do those things without Him guiding me and leading me and giving me the direction that I should go. They say if you want to make God laugh, tell Him about the plans that you have for your life. And I've always told my mom and family members that I think that God is the biggest and greatest comedian of all times, right? Because the things that He does for you in your life, sometimes you don't realize that they're blessings, but they are blessings. And just it kind of makes you laugh about some of the things that go on in your life. So I just want to make sure that I reverence Him and all that He does for me, and I'm so grateful and I'm so thankful. Well, we're going to start by talking about a topic that I get a lot from parents. I get phone calls, emails that they just don't understand the recruiting process. They don't understand how they get their sons or daughters prepared for intercollegiate athletics. How can they get a scholarship? What does that entail? Is that scholarship does it just last 1 year? Does it last multi years? So we're going to talk a little bit about that. The first thing that I tell all parents is make sure that you find out as much information as you can. And you can do that by going on to ncaa.org, or you can go to the NCAA clearinghouse and you can get the information from there, right? And it's going to tell you everything that you need to know in preparation for getting the prospective student athlete ready for collegiate athletics and collegiate scholarship. And there are two different areas that I often talk about, right? That give athletically related aid, and that's the Division One level, and that's the Division Two level, right? And they're similar, but they are different. And the one thing that individuals, that parents and potential prospective student athletes need to know and understand is that this starts not when you get into ninth grade. You start looking at this when you're in middle school, when you're in the seventh grade, when you're in the eighth grade, right? Because your time starts with your initial eligibility, it begins the first semester of your high school career as a freshman, right? You have 16 core credits that you have to complete by a certain time, graduation, right? But within those 16 core credits, there's more requirements and criteria that you have to complete in order to be deemed academically eligible to receive athletically related aid. And we're going to talk about that here in just a moment. But again, please hear me when I say this. The key to this whole thing is being prepared prior to going to high school, right? Because I've seen a lot of cases. I've recruited a lot of student athletes when I was an assistant men's basketball coach at the Division I level, head men's basketball coach at the NCAA, in JCAA Division I level, and you see it a lot of times where student athletes are very gifted athletically, right? Basketball, volleyball, softball, baseball, and they come to the realization that they cannot play Division I basketball or volleyball or softball right out of high school because they did not meet the initial eligibility requirements. And everybody's path is not the same, right? It doesn't mean that because you didn't go to Division I right out of high school, it doesn't mean that you can't get there and have that and complete that dream of participating in Division I athletics, right? It just means that you're going to have to take a different path. So let's get into it a little bit and let's talk about this. So, like I said before, there are 16 core credits that each student athlete has to complete in order to be eligible to receive athletically related aid. And those are, you have to have 4 years in Division I, you have to have 4 years of English. So that means you have to have a credit each year that you're in high school. 9th grade English, 10th grade English, 11th grade English, 12th grade English. And those have to be in your school's overall curriculum that is uploaded by your counselor, the counselor of the school, so that the NCAA can pull your curriculum and look and make sure that all of the curriculum that you have matches their desired requirements for initial eligibility. So 4 years of English. Then you have to have 3 years of math, and it's Algebra 1 and higher. So you have Algebra 1, then you may have geometry, Algebra 2, trigonometry. You have to have 3 years of math in order to be initially eligible for scholarship coming into Division I. Natural sciences, right? You have to have 2 years of a natural science, and one of those natural sciences has to have a lab, right? So now we have 4 years of English, we have 3 years of math, we have 2 years of science. And then you have 2 years of social science, which can be psychology, economics, sociology, history, any of those social sciences. You have to have 2 years of those. And then you have to have additional courses, right? Additional courses. So now you have to have 1 year of additional math, English, or science. And then you need to have 4 years of additional courses that can include another math, another science, a foreign language, literature, philosophy, any of those things. And those make up the 16 core credits that a student athlete needs if they're going to go Division I. Okay. And so I'll talk about the requirement that's inside those 16. It's called the 10-7 rule. Uh, and the 10-7 rule means that you have to have 10 of the 16 core credit hours completed before the start of the seventh semester for that student athlete, which is their senior year, right? And those core credits, 7 of those 10 that you have to have completed by have to be in English, science, and math. Okay. And I know as I'm explaining this, and I hope that I'm doing a good job of kind of breaking it down for you, because it can be confusing sometimes, right? Student athletes, I've heard from parents, and again, to get emails from parents, and they say, well, my child, my son, my daughter, they are a great student. They have a 3.0 GPA or better. They have taken, Englishes and math and science. The problem comes in that they're doing a good job, but they haven't completed those 10 core credit hours, right, before the start of their senior year. And 7 of those core credit hours have to be in English, math, and science, right? And so, as we continue to talk about this, and I look at this, I just want to be able to share with you that you can find the information on the eligibility center, the NCAA eligibility center, right? You can go there, and then you can also find it on the NCAA website, right? NCAA.org, and it's information that kind of looks like this, right? You have Division 1 academic standards, right? And it gives you everything that you need to have. And it shows you, if you look up there, it shows you all of the courses that you need to have. It talks about 4 years of English, 3 years of math, 2 years of science, 1 extra year of math, English, or science, your social sciences, and then the 4 years of the other, right? And then it tells you about the 10-7 rule. So all of this information is readily available for parents and student athletes so that they can understand what they need in order to successfully complete their dream of being a student athlete, right? And they also talk about what qualifiers mean, right? You ask that question, am I a qualifier? Am I a non qualifier? Well, early academic qualifiers are those that can complete the criteria after 6 semesters in high school, right? After the end of their junior year, because you get 8 semesters in high school, right? That you have to complete in that 4 years. So after your junior year, if you have all of these criteria completed, then you are an early qualifier. So you see sometimes student athletes graduate in December, and then they're able to go to their institution of higher learning in December. If that's football, that's good for them to do that because now they can go to spring practice. If it's you know, if it's softball, if it's baseball, it's good for them to go because they can come in and they can start learning and participating in practice and things like that when they graduate in December. You're a qualifier if you meet all of the criteria that I just talked about. Okay. An academic red shirt is someone that they can participate in practice during their first academic semester. So their freshman year, fall, if they are a red shirt, they can participate in practice, right? They can receive financial aid, but they will not be able to continue practice unless they pass 9 credit hours in that first semester, right? And then a non-qualifier is someone that does not meet any of these criteria. And then so some student athletes cannot, from a skill standpoint, are not ready to go to play in Division 1. So let me briefly talk about the Division 2 criteria for being for your initial eligibility. So just like in Division 1, you have to have 16 core credits. that you pass, right? A little different Division two. Instead of 4 years of English for Division two, you only have to have 3. You only have to have 3 English years in Division two. Math, instead of 3, you only have to have 2. You have to have 2 years of math at the Division two level. Your natural sciences, still 2 years, and the lab. You have to have that lab, right? Social sciences, the ones we talked about, psychology, history, economics, sociology, any of those, you still have to have 2 years, right, for that. And not your additional courses that you're required to have. You don't have to have 4. You have to have 3, right? So additional math, additional science, additional English, right? And then it still remains the same for the other courses that you have: foreign language, comparative, religion, philosophy, literature. You still have to have 4 years. Now, on the Division one side, you have to come out in your core, those core 16, you have to come out with a GPA of 2.3 or higher. Division two, you only have to come out with a grade point average of, in those 16 core, of 2.2 or higher. And then the one other thing that we'll talk about when we return from the break is we'll talk about what you need to do to make sure that you have everything with the clearinghouse to make you eligible for your initial eligibility so that you can receive athletically related aid. And we will talk about that when we come back from our break. You're watching From the AD's View. I'm your host, Dr. Cedric Brown. We'll be right back after this break.
Renting is everything. It's style at your doorstep, off the runway and into your closet. It's every trend you've been dying to try and every designer you've yet to discover. It's wearing it your way every time and making it count everywhere you go. It's never worrying about what to wear because something new is always coming your way. That's why renting is everything. New styles, top designers, all for a flat monthly fee. Start your subscription at renttherunway.com.
Slow roasted over hickory fire and pulled by hand. This is the way pit pork has always been done. Pulled pork lovers, rejoice. The smoky old days are back at the Smoke Shack. From the creative team that brought you the Browning Project and Dead by Morning comes a new thriller that will change the way you look at white-collar crime forever. Falling from the Sky.
Water. It's everywhere. We drink it, we bathe with it, we cook with it. Coffee's made with water. Toilets won't flush without it. It's used for washing clothes, dishes, utensils, pots, pans, floors, and our teeth. Plants and crops need water, animals drink it, and fish need it too. And don't forget, we can have a lot of fun in the water. Water. What would we do without it?
Welcome back. You're watching From the AD's View. I'm your host, Dr. Cedric Brown. Today, we're talking a little bit about NCAA initial eligibility. We're going to talk a little bit about some lawsuits that were settled by the NCAA and the autonomy conferences, Power Four conferences. And then we're going to finish up with talking about some legislation with the D1 Council this past week over in Indianapolis with the NCAA. But before we do that, I'd like to talk a little bit about my book, something that I'm extremely proud of. And I want to thank all the viewers for your support. There's been a lot of support in purchasing of the book. And so I just want to thank you. And it's How Black Men Overcome Racial Barriers in the Status Quo in NCAA Institutions. It was a book that took quite a while for me to gather information. Had to do some semi-structured interviews with some very influential gentlemen in NCAA Power Five institutions, current and retired. But the one thing that came out of it, as I say all the time, is that the big theme about the whole thing was role models. And if you don't have role models, if you don't have a network of individuals that you can lean on as you go through this journey of trying to ascend to what they call the chair in Power Five athletics, it can be difficult. Not that it can't be done, but it can be difficult. And having the benefits of the role model and having the expectations of the role models and learning how to navigate perceived or real racial barriers as I ascend through this business is a big help for my career, for your mental health, for everything that you need to be and ascend to the goals that you aspire to. The book can be purchased at Amazon.com. Again, the title is How Black Men Overcome Racial Barriers and the Status Quo in NCAA Institutions. Please go and grab the book. Get in contact with me at fromtheadsview@gmail.com, and let's talk about it. Right? Come on the show. Share your point of view. I can be seen. You can see past episodes on my YouTube channel, and the call sign is at From the AD's View. Reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to talk to you about what's going on in the world of athletics and education and in sports and with your family and things like that. You can also catch us on the Leon Thomas Radio Network, and you can do that at the leonthomasgroup.com. And there's some exciting things going on there with some of my colleagues and the content that they're bringing forth on the Leon Thomas Radio Network. We can be seen on Sundays at 6:40 Eastern, 6:40 Central, 7:40 Eastern on Sundays with more open and honest conversations and content from the AD's View. Now, I just want to finish up what we were talking about before the break with regards to initial eligibility. There's one thing that parents and student athletes have to know is that you have to be registered with the NCAA clearinghouse in order for any of this to happen, right? And there's a misnomer that if I go in and I just sign up, that I'm good. You are, but you are not. There's an initial, sign, get your name there and do all that. But then there's a paid version that you have to do to actually get your NCAA eligibility clearinghouse ID, right? And that cost for me when I did it back with the Flintstones, it was about $60. I think it's around $100 right now. But that needs to happen. You need to do your original registration for the clearinghouse in your ninth grade year, during the ninth grade year, parents and student athletes. And again, I said when you go to the NCAA or you go to NCAA clearinghouse, there's some information there. There's this information, right, that gives you the opportunity to see what you need to do. And so it says, as in your ninth grade year, you're to register. The 10th grade year, you're going to make that plan. And we'll talk about that in a second. Your 11th grade year, you're going to continue to do your studies to make sure that you meet that 10-7 rule. And then obviously in the 12th grade year, you're going to matriculate. But as you can see right there at the bottom, it says 4 times 4 is 16, right? So 4 core credits your freshman year, 4 core credits your 10th grade year, 4 core credits your 11th grade year, 4 core credits your 12th grade year will make you immediately eligible to receive athletically related aid when you go to Division 1, if that's your choice, or Division 2 to participate in the sport of your choice. So, if I can help you in any way with any of this information, please reach out to me at from the AD's view at gmail.com, because it's very important that parents are able to understand the eligibility process, right? And then comes the recruiting process, right? Because you don't want to go through the recruiting process if the eligibility process isn't done. And let me say something real quick before I go on to the next topic. Um, Everyone's journey isn't always NCAA Division 1 or Division 2, right? There is a piece of higher education that is equally as important for student athletes to matriculate through, right, and continue their dream to participate in intercollegiate athletics, and and more importantly, get their education, and that is the 2 year school way, right? That is community college, junior college. There is an absolute um, uh, perfect reason for individuals to choose that route, right? Everybody's not looking to go, across the country to go participate in athletics, right? Some people like to stay a little closer to home. They're more comfortable with family around them. There's no there's no bad choice in participating in the National Junior College of Athletics, the NJCAA. There's no reason that individuals cannot participate and get their education at the NJCAA level, right? I was an NJCAA coach for a long period of time, was able to help young men matriculate through and get their associate's degree, and then they went on and played Division 1 college basketball. Some at a higher level, and some at what we call the mid-major level, and some went and played at lower levels, right? At the Division 1 level. But that is an option, and that is an option that you absolutely need to keep in mind, right? It's sometimes it gets a bad stigma about it. Oh, you went to a junior college. Well, the general education courses that you take at a 4 year school are the same ones that you take at a community college, right? And at the community college level, you just have more um, help, right? Because the classes are smaller. The instructors are there because they want to provide that intimate educational relationship for student athletes at that level. And so I just want to make everyone aware that there's always a path. There's an alternate path to getting to your goal and getting to your dream. If it's not Division 1 right out of high school, if it's not Division 2 right out of high school, going to the National Junior College Athletic Association is an absolute opportunity for you to get a great education and play the sport of your choice. As I pivot a little bit before we head out, there was a settlement that came down. The NCAA had multi lawsuits against them. House, Carter, and let me look at my notes. And Hubbard were three lawsuits that were brought against the NCAA with regards to the ability for student athletes to be compensated, right? And the one that we talk about more than other is the House settlement, right? And what happened with that is all athletes that from 2016 till now are going to be able to have some type of compensation, back pay, if you will, from the NCAA. The agreement was a $2.78 billion agreement, right? And if the NCAA had not of agreed to this settlement, multi lawsuits would keep coming, and they'd have to fight them, and they'd have to use financial resources to do that. It could have changed the landscape of NCAA athletics completely. So, and some of the things that are afforded really quickly, financial compensation, athletes may receive compensation for their name, image, and likeness. The name, image, and likeness rights, now they're going to move those to third parties, collectives, if you will. And now down the line, that's going to be moved to institutions where institutions of higher learning, athletics departments can help student athletes directly find NIL deals and do them in the right way, right? um, Eligibility rules, as you know, as things change with this settlement, eligibility rules will change as well. Recruitment and retention, it's very, we have the transfer portal in NCAA athletics, and the transfer portal now will allow student athletes to transfer whenever they deem to transfer, because the opportunity may not be at institution A for NIL, but it is at institution B for NIL. Okay. And then, it just sets legal precedents for things that are yet to come. Right. And so, what we want to do is the main thing before I close, the main thing that I want to stress is that, we have to do two things as athletics administrators and athletics leaders and institutional leaders. We have to be mindful about the student athlete's overall success, right? Academically and then athletically. And then we have to be mindful of their student athlete experience. What does that look like, right? From gear to travel to nutrition to access to quality athletic training. What do those things look like that gives those student athletes, those men and those women, an opportunity to have the best overall student athlete experience that they possibly can, right? That is our job. Without the student athletes, there are no directors of athletics. There are no senior associate athletic directors of administration, which is my role. There are no deputy athletics directors, because it's the student athlete that that we're here for. We are here in a servant leadership role for them, to be someone that can guide them and help them attain their academic and their athletic goals. So it's very important that as we go through all of these things, the name, image, and likeness, the transfer portal, the lawsuits that are coming out for back pay for student athletes, as the student athletes try to go through and figure out if they want to be employees of institutions, and that's a different show for a different evening. The number one thing that we need to do is we need to take care of these student athletes. We need to make sure that from the time that they come in, from the time that they are a prospective student athlete, when they are being recruited in the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, that we are preparing to give them overall student success, and we are preparing to give them the best overall student athlete experience that they can have when they're at our institution. It's our job to take care of them. Our coaches go and recruit them. Our coaches tell their parents, we're going to take care of your student athlete. And it's our responsibility as athletic administrators to coach the coaches, and the coaches coach the student athletes. And I'm one that takes that very seriously. I'm one that is, kind of, when it comes to it, my father, Sherrod Delano Brown, shout out to you, Dad, is a military man, believes in, rules and regulations. Things were black and white when we were growing up in the Brown household, and that's kind of like I am now. And I understand there's a running joke in my athletics department that I need to learn how to be a paintbrush instead of a sledgehammer. I accept that, right? I recognize that, and at the same time, I'm a devout advocate for the student athletes and what is best for them. And we'll always, and I'm unapologetic about that, and will always be about that. But I hope that the information that I gave to you today regarding initial eligibility was helpful. Again, you can reach out to me on my email address at from the AD's view at gmail.com. You can see me on my YouTube channel, which is at From the AD's View. And I'm here every Sunday evening at 6:40 Central, 7:40 Eastern Standard Time for more open and honest discussion from the AD's View. You're watching From the AD's View. I'm your host, Dr. Cedric Brown. Good night and God bless.